Welcome back to my channel, Shar Heart. I am Shar. I have more of the chapters, the rest of that part where Penelope was going out to the fair. I'm going to read the rest of this chapter and begin the next chapter next week. I'm already in the process of writing it. So, let's get started. They passed a few stores and gas stations, and they left the town toward a long road where you could see the sun dimming and many bright lights all together. Ma spoke first. That's my 500-page subscriber in the middle of being finished. For when I have 500 pages, I'm going to have the two girls with a message to everybody. Alright. If I could just get my hands to grab it. There we go. Let me start over on that part. They passed a few stores and gas stations and left the town toward a long road where you could see the sun dimming and many bright lights all together. Ma spoke first. There it is, Penelope. Look at all the lights. And as they got closer, look at all the rides. They parked as close as they could to admissions to step through the gates with a deep sigh from all of them as huge grins and bright-eyed excitement accompanied them in. Cotton candy first, Paul said, as he dashed to grab one for each and lead them toward the merry-go-round. Yay! Ma, both Ma and Penelope said unanimously. Pa situated everyone within reaching distance on the merry-go-round. Penelope looked around toward where so many colors of horses and some had carriages, like Paul said. She pointed to one with a carriage like the ones many fancy dressed ladies ride in movies. I want to ride that one, Pa. She was smiling and feeling a new level of emotion. It wasn't that she had never felt it. It was just more intense, and she understood it was true, unlimited excitement and joy. She was feeling it now. She was old enough to appreciate doing something for the first time. Pa moved her from the pale pink horse with a white and darker pink saddle to a lacy, frilly carriage of maroon and white lacy trim and a white horse with a brown spot connected. I see my little lady has good taste with a touch of elegance. It makes sense your ma is usually bows and flowing dresses. You seem to love wearing them too. Like the like the ladies that ride these carriages. Pa beamed at her and Ma with a definite pride. My beautifully lovely ladies. I am glad to be able to treat both of you to an evening of fun. He patted the horses as if it was real and looked forward with a large grin as the ride went round and round. Once the ride stopped, he motioned for Ma and pointed to the Ferris wheel. Let's ride that before we grab a hot dog, drink, and sweet snack to enjoy. Holding Penelope, Doll let Ma lead the way to catch a good spot in a forming line. As they got in line, Penelope was able to better see how high this ride stood. She could barely look up to the top at at this distance without being bending near far back enough to hang upside down in Paul's arms. She gave up trying to avoid making it hard for Pa to hold her, and from getting a bit dizzy in her position, laying away from Pa and with her head bent back. This top, the top of the top was just too high it to see it all standing close. The bars were lifted for each group of people to load one at a time of what like looked like floating horse carriages. Penelope motioned to get down. I want to walk on, Daddy, using Daddy indicating this was super important and special to her. She wanted to walk into her first floating carriage ride into the sky. Once she was in with Ma on one side and Pa on the other side, she went to the side to look over as it slowly lifted higher until each floating carriage was filled. Then Ma placed her hand on her shoulder and pulled her close. We're starting to move faster and need to be seated for safety, baby girl. At this, the ride rose higher and began to go round, but not like the merry-go-round. Each carriage lifted up and over the other that was behind it until into a circle in the sky. Then the one that was below slowly rose higher and then overhead as the wheel rolled forward and repeated. Ma lifted Penelope to see over the town and into the other as far as possible from where they drove to this fairground. Penelope's eyes were round with fascination, trying to picture how it would look if she could float from here back home, looking at everything from the air above. She then looked up when they were at the very top of the Ferris wheel. The clouds looked closer, but there were still, but they were still, but but were still way up high. How much higher before they could be in the clouds? Penelope wondered. Finally, the magical ride into the sky ended, and they grabbed the hot dog with lemonade and cotton candy. They sat briefly, choosing a spot near the slow, lazy river ride so they could watch others going around until they were done and could take a turn. No one was really hungry, but a snack was just right after the light dinner they had before coming to the fairgrounds. A few bites per person, and a few sips, and several pinches of cotton candy, and they were ready to ride the lazy river ride. As Penelope stepped onto the boat ride, she had to be steadied by inside the boat and a hand to Ma yet not yet in the boat. It moved a little under the foot, but had a pole connected to keep it from floating away from those getting on and off. It also kept the boat in the middle of the river, away from the walls and other obstacles on the sides. They could see the other side of the Ferris wheel at one point, and a taller boat in a taller boat. They could see the other side of the Ferris wheel at one point, and a taller boat like ride that swung back and forth higher as it started. She wanted to ride that one next, pointing and looking at Ma and Pa. Then they came around one with spinning cups like the one Ma used for tea, and another ride like a giant balloon slide with cushions of air below at the bottom. She was pointing to that one too. They went to each right Penelope had pointed to, but by the time they had reached the giant balloon ride, it was time to start heading out. They rode down to the slide together. They rode down the slide together like a human train, Penelope in front, Maud behind her, and Dad behind everyone, anchoring them as they sped down, legs and arms locked around each other to keep from separating. Even though it wasn't the most fancy or elaborate of all the rides, the boat and the slide were her favorite. You just rode it without being pushed or pulled and rushed through. It had its own speed. Da stopped for the caramel apple with a covering, opened it for each to bite, and covered it over again. They were heading out, but Da to remembered the one souvenir toy and stopped in front of the booth with stacked bottles. He took a couple of throws and managed before he used the last of three throws to get a cute bunny, a cute rabbit with long light pink ears inside and a light gray colored body with fluffy white tail. It was the biggest. It was just big enough for Penelope to hold her arms to hold in her arms and at, and lay her head on as she drifted into sleep, dreaming of fairgrounds and their ride back home. Okay, this ends that chapter, and I'm gonna read like a little bit of a teaser to be continued. Having left their toddler days behind, kindergarten had been underway for some time, and both little ones were in need of a break from the school routine. However, what was considered a break was different for each set of parents. To be continued. That starts the next chapter. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I try to mix it up on what you guys could see so that it was interesting since I don't have all of the chapters um, illustrated and certainly not colored because most of these are black and white. And then I'm going to finish coloring. I've got one of these colored. I'm going to color this and color the bigger picture that was kind of dark colored. And this one throughout the rest of the month. I got to finish the details on this one. And you saw this one colored so that there's some colorful illustrations as the end of the book. Get to the end of the book that I wrote, or I'm writing, I should say. That way you guys have colorful illustrations for like I guess you say a finale of the last of this book. Um, I will have it written by the end of this month, but I will not have all of these drawn and colored. So I will read the rest of the story, but then I'm going to go back before I edit the story and then show you like some of the sceneries colored like this one so I can have like a uniform color of the story with color illustrations of the story and have like a longer video that you guys can go back and watch. But the actual edited part of the story won't be on this on YouTube for free. It'll be on Patreon. which I've been working on different things to sell. Just trying to make sure I hit everything. All right. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy and see you next weekend. The first part of the weekend is just going to be coloring. So you're going to see me probably color this one and another part of illustrations. Some of these illustrations are before the two of them meet, and some of them are after the two of them meet. Take care. Bye bye.